Good morning, students. Before we start our today's lecture, I would like to take your consent regarding one thing. Today, 2 to 3, there is a slot of FME, okay? But today, Gorte sir is not available. So I would like to ask you that we should have a lecture, or we have to have the examination related to practicals. So the practical exams should be there, or you want to have the lecture in 2 to 3. So what is your say on this? Is my voice audible to you?
Yes, ma'am.
So theory lecture you want at 2, or we should have the examination on practicals? I think 3 practicals related to that we have already covered the examination. So rest of the practicals we have to have the examination in this week. So if you say lecture, of course we will continue with the lecture, or if not, we will have the examination. So whatever you want to have, you can put it in the chat box. I don't want to create a burden on you, so my wish is not at all important. What you want, that consent you may give. Okay, so I got 3 replies. So all are saying the lectures. What about others? Okay. Okay, and of course, the examination we need to conduct. So, should we conduct it at 5:15 today? From 5:15 means today 5:15, then tomorrow 5:15, like this. Every day there will be an exam on one practical. So, is that okay for you? Is that okay? Okay. Okay, good. So we will have the lecture at 2 again, because Gorte sir is not available today. Okay. So today we will have 2 lectures. So most probably we will try to complete the unit that we are discussing now. That is nothing but the nuclear physics. So in nuclear physics, what we have seen up to this date, most importantly, or broadly we can say, in this particular unit we have seen 2 nuclear processes. One is known as nuclear fission, another one is known as nuclear fission. Okay, so both are opposite reactions. Just a second. So both reactions are opposite to each other. In nuclear fission, there will be a splitting of heavier nuclei into lighter nuclei, whereas in nuclear fusion there will be combination of 2 lighter nuclei in order to produce heavy nucleus. Okay, so in last lecture we have covered the nuclear fusion. We have seen how the nuclear fusion reaction will be. Of course, 2 lighter ion, so 2 lighter nuclei upon combination will give you the heavier nuclei, and that kind of processes are observable in various stars. One example that I have mentioned in last lecture, that is sun. So in sun's core, the hydrogen is getting converted into helium. Of course, you people know the hydrogen is having less atomic number and atomic mass number, whereas the helium is having the larger one. Okay, in that sense you can say the hydrogen is having a lighter nuclei and helium is having the higher nuclei. Okay, so means in sun's core the lighter nuclei is, by the virtue of nuclear fusion, is getting converted into heavier nuclei. Okay, so that is the nuclear fusion we have seen. Now in today's lecture, what we are going to see, we are going to see how that things happens in actual. Okay, it is not a single step process. There are certain steps involved in nuclear fusion, and that steps you can see on the screen right now. Okay, so related to nuclear fusion, there are two different procedures. One procedure is termed as the proton-proton cycle, another one is carbon nitrogen cycle. Ultimately, to the aim to demonstrate these cycles is to see how the nuclear fusion takes place. Okay, so Hans Bethe in 1939 suggested that the production of that solar energy is by thermonuclear reaction, where there is continuously transformation of proton into helium nuclei. Okay, so on screen certain equations are written: 5.8.1, 5.8.2 and 5.8.3. So I'll suggest at first write down these three equations or four equations that you can see on the screen, and then try to analyze what is happening in that reactions. Okay, so I'll give you 1 minute for the writing. Those who have completed the writing, share your screen so that I can see what you have written. Make your video on and share whatever you have written. So done with the writing? Those who have completed the writing, put yes in the chat box. Okay. Runali is saying 2 minutes. Okay, no problem.
Ma'am,
Yes, Sanika. Okay.
I'm sharing.
Yeah. I can see. Good.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So hope you people have completed the writing. Now, of course, whatever are the steps provided here related to PP cycle, so that we are going to see. Okay, as this is a continuous process, so basically cycle word you can see over here. How that cycle is, that you will get to know on the next slide. Okay, and as here there is a combination of one proton with another proton. At first you can see the first step, see here. So whatever you can see at first, that is nothing but the combination of one proton with another proton. So that's why this particular thing is termed as a PP cycle, proton-proton cycle. Okay, so basically here, as you can see, when one proton is getting combined with another proton, it forms the deuteron. It releases one positron and some amount of energy. Okay, yes. Okay, so that is the first step. One proton is getting converted into another proton and forming the deuteron. Now this deuteron, here you can see the same deuteron from this first equation is taken over here, and that deuteron when combines with another proton, here you can see there is generation of helium isotope, and along with that helium isotope some amount of energy or some amount of radiations are released, and that radiations are denoted with the symbol gamma. Okay, now the output of this equation number 2, that is nothing but the helium isotope. So one helium isotope upon combination with another helium isotope, it produces the helium. Means here the hydrogen is getting converted into helium by these steps that you have seen over here. So along with helium, here you can see 2 protons and some amount of energy. So in a nutshell, the entire process is denoted like this. Here you can see 4 proton, they are producing the helium isotope, 2 positrons and some amount of energy. Okay, so that is the PP cycle. So the same thing you can observe over here. Okay, the diagram related to that PP cycle is provided over here. So you people can take a screenshot, and after this lecture you try to draw this particular cycle. Okay, so whatever steps we have seen on the previous slide, you may compare, because as I have asked you to write down all the steps, you are having that steps right now, and on the screen you can see the figure. So here you can see the first hydrogen or first proton is getting converted, is getting added with another proton. So this combination, you can see this arrow refers to the addition. So one proton with another proton produces deuteron and releases one positron. Outward side arrow is nothing but related to the release in the reaction. So one proton with another proton is producing deuteron and it releases one positron. Now that deuteron upon addition with this proton produces helium isotope. So one helium isotope you can see over here. Now the same parallel reaction, if it is occurring on the other side, means one proton upon combination with another proton is producing deuteron over here, and while that addition it releases say one positron. Now this deuteron upon combination with this another proton is producing helium isotope. Okay, so same reaction as there is a upward side, the same reaction is going on this particular side, and when this helium isotope is getting combined with this particular helium isotope, it produces the helium in actual and releases 2 proton. Okay, so whatever steps, chemical reactions you have seen on the previous slide, the same reactions are demonstrated over here with the help of one diagram. So ultimately here the nuclear fusion is taking place. The nuclei of these proton, they are fused together in order to generate the helium nuclei. Okay, so that is the proton-proton cycle which occurs in various kinds of stars. So there is no any much amount of science. General procedures or general chemical reactions are there. So that chemical reactions you can see on the screen. Is there any doubt in this? Is there any doubt in this?
No, ma'am.
No, ma'am.
Okay. So simple, that 3 steps you need to keep in mind to understand the proton-proton cycle. Now another kind of nuclear fusion, basically you can say both are the proton-proton cycle and carbon-nitrogen cycle, both are nuclear fusion processes. Okay, so combination of nuclei is going on in both the cycles. So another cycle in that, of course, at the output you will get to know that there is a generation of heavier nuclei, that is nothing but the helium. But how that helium is generated in proton-proton cycle, what we have seen, the generation of helium is due to addition of one proton with another proton. Okay, so that 2 elements are responsible to have helium in the output. Here in this carbon-nitrogen cycle or CN cycle, the same output will be there, but that helium you will get by the combination of or by the reactions of some carbon molecule or carbon nuclei or nitrogen nuclei. Okay, so again on the screen you can see certain kinds of steps. First write down that steps and then we will have the discussion. Okay, here you have to keep in mind the nuclear fusion will be there, but to have the nuclear fusion, here the carbon is used as a catalyst. Now what are the catalysts and all that things, what catalysts do in actual, that you people know, because that is the part of 12th chemistry. So the catalyst, they doesn't take part in the actual chemical reaction, but they facilitate the reaction. Okay, so here that facilitation is done with the help of carbon and nitrogen. So how that processes are there, that you can see on the screen. So first write down all the reactions and after completing the writing, put done in the chat box. Those who have completed the writing, put done in the chat box. Already got the reply from Sanika. CN cycle, in CN cycle you can see some more steps are there. In PP cycle only we have seen 3 steps were there, but in CN cycle you will get to know there are in total 6 steps. Okay, so 5 steps you people have already written. On the next slide you can see the 6 step, and along with that one overall reaction is provided. Okay, so write down the sixth number step. Sixth step, write down it. And then of course for, as I have already mentioned, how the PP cycle takes place, now you people are going to give me the demonstration that how CN cycle works. Means you have to explain how the chemical reactions are there. Okay, so I'll go to the previous slide. So anybody from you can explain what is the first step, what is happening in the first step. Those who have completed the writing may give the answer, or as I have mentioned in the previous lecture, those who always keep mum in the lecture, they are having the chance to explain this particular reaction. Okay, so who will explain what is happening in step number 1?
I'm in the carbon nitrogen cycle. Ma'am, in this reaction, carbon acts as a catalyst, and in the first step, a proton interacts with carbon nucleus having 12 as atomic mass, and the Q1 energy is raised.
Yes, here you can see the carbon with atomic mass number 12 and atomic number 6 is selected, and as it is mentioned, carbon acts as a catalyst over here. Okay, so of course it is not going to take part in actual reaction, or it will not give you any kinds of output. Ultimately, proton that we are going to use here, that is the main element as far as this CN cycle is concerned. Okay, so that proton, upon combination with carbon molecule or carbon nuclei, it is producing the nitrogen isotope. Okay, so nitrogen is not there, its isotope is there with atomic mass number 13 and atomic number 7. Okay, and again due to say mass defect, there will be some kind of energy. That energy is denoted here with the symbol Q1. Okay, now the output of this particular reaction, step number 1, is selected in step number 2. Means this nitrogen isotope which is generated at the first step, that goes to a decay process. So nitrogen isotope decays and emit one positron. So here you can see it is emitting one positron, and whatever is the rest part, that is nothing but the carbon isotope with atomic mass number 13. Okay, atomic number will be same because it is an isotope. Atomic mass number here it will be 13. Okay, now again you have to select this product, that is carbon isotope over here. Again that carbon isotopes interacts with another proton. Okay, so here there will be a addition reaction. So this C136 plus proton, it will give you the nitrogen, and again due to mass defect there will be some amount of energy. Now the output of step number 3 is selected in step number 4, and again that nitrogen is getting added with another proton. So here you can see at each and every step a proton is there. So here you can see the proton. The second reaction is decay reaction, so no addition is there. Another third reaction is the addition reaction, so you can see the proton over here, and again in the fourth step also proton is present. Okay, so here there will be addition reaction. So after adding this nitrogen with proton, there will be generation of oxygen isotope. Okay, oxygen, it is whose atomic mass number is 15 and atomic number 8 is generated over here. Okay, and of course some amount of energy. Now again, after addition reaction, there will be a decay process. So that oxygen will decay to form the nitrogen isotope with atomic mass number 15. Okay. Then that nitrogen isotope, upon combination with proton, another proton, will give you the helium, and it will give this C12-6 as a output. So here you can see in the input also we are having the C12-6 molecule or nuclei, and same you can get at the output. Means here whatever is the interaction, that interaction is related to the proton, and as we have mentioned, C12-6 is a catalyst, so that is getting released in the process. Okay. So overall, if you want to see, then these are the things. So we have started with this carbon nuclei. So after the addition of that carbon with proton, it gives you the nitrogen isotope. It releases one positron. Then nitrogen isotope, upon combination with this nitrogen in decay process releases positron and gives you the C13-6, that is carbon isotope. That carbon isotope, upon interaction with another proton, gives you the nitrogen. So that nitrogen along with another proton gives you the oxygen isotope. Oxygen upon decay releases proton and gives the nitrogen isotope. That nitrogen isotope, upon combination with proton, is releasing the helium isotope. So here you can see, ultimately whatever our aim is to have the helium at the output, that is getting achieved, and whatever is the carbon molecule that is there to facilitate another CN cycle. Okay. So ultimately whatever is the start that you have got after this number of reactions, and here there are chances to have another CN cycle. So that will be a continuous process, and of course at the end of each process there will be generation of helium. So both PN and PP and CN cycles, they demonstrate how the nuclear fusion is getting into reality through some processes. Okay. So this is related to the carbon nitrogen cycle and proton proton cycle. Both are the examples of nuclear fusion reaction. Okay. Yeah, so whatever are the stars, Pawan has mentioned something. Yes, where does this processes takes place? Like first one took place in sun. So both are the reactions which actually takes place in various stars. Or if you want to have the nuclear fusion in the laboratory, then you need to follow both these steps. Okay, either you can go for the proton proton, or either you can go for the carbon nitrogen cycle. So these are the naturally occurring processes, and at the same time for laboratory generation of nuclear energy with nuclear fusion process, you need to take help of these processes. Okay, so that is the case. So is there any other doubt related to proton proton and carbon nitrogen cycle? Only you need to keep in mind how the reactions are going on. Okay. So if some doubts are there, you can put in the chat box, or you can unmute and may ask. Okay. If no doubts are there, then we will go towards the next point, that is nothing but the accelerators. So acceleration is the one thing that you know as per as our physics contents are concerned. So can you say what is acceleration? Acceleration is the well-known term. So what it means? Yeah, accelerators example is a cyclotron as mentioned by Akib. and of course Akib, we are going to see what is cyclotron and how it works. Okay, Pawan has mentioned rate of change of velocity with respect to time is nothing but the acceleration. That is absolutely correct. Okay, so basically the accelerators are the instruments which are used to accelerate the various kinds of particles. Okay, one thing that I would like to mention that will clear some doubts related to the nuclear fission process. That is, in nuclear fission you have seen when heavier nuclei interacts with external neutron, it gives you the splitting of that heavier nuclei. Okay, but when we are saying that external neutron is splitting the heavier nuclei, so at that time you have to keep in mind that that external neutron should have high amount of energy. So in order to give high amount of energy to that neutron particle, the instruments such as accelerators are used. Okay, so accelerators are the instruments which are used for that kind of study, where you need to give high amount of energy to the particles. Now how that energy giving is possible with the help of accelerators, that we are going to discuss over here. Okay, so before going towards accelerator, on the screen you can see one building, structure of one building. So that building is of one research center known as Inter-University Accelerator Center, which is situated in New Delhi. Okay, so basically most of the work related to accelerators is done in this particular institute, and whatever are the accelerators facility, most of the accelerators facility are available in this particular center. Whatever cyclotron that we are going to talk about, the cyclotron is the facility that you can see in the Chandigarh, and along with this IUSC New Delhi, in Chandigarh you may have such kind of facilities. Then such kind of facilities are available at the IIT Bhubaneswar, and some of the accelerator facility are at the UGC DAE Indore. So there are very less amount of institutes which gives you the facility like accelerators. Okay, so this is a very highly sophisticated kind of facility, and which is not available at any random place. Okay, so there are some dedicated institutes where you can have such kind of facilities. Okay, so why I have taken this particular picture, just to demonstrate you how the accelerators work. Now basically here whatever structure you can see, so you can see the floors that you can see here are 3 floors. Okay, so there's this ground floor, then first floor, then second floor. Okay, and there is a chimney kind of structure that you can see. So if the floors related to this chimney are concerned, then these 3, and after that there are 3 floors. Okay, so here you can see certain amounts of windows are provided. So whatever is the particle source, that particle source is kept at this particular place, and whatever is the sample with which we need to have the interaction of that particle, that sample will be there at the ground slide. Okay, so if this is the ground statement, ground floor, then there is a basement. So in the basement they are having the laboratories where they keep the actual sample, and particles are released from this particular amount of height. Now to understand this, I will ask you one question. If I ask you, of course I will not ask this you in actual, but imagine if I ask you that stood up at the say 7th or 8th floor of the building and then jump to the ground, what will happen to you and what will happen to the ground where you are getting exposed? Simple is the question. If I ask you to jump from the 6th floor of the building to the ground, what will happen? No parachute facility is available. Okay. Just you have to jump. The one will die, Pavan is saying. Okay. Okay. Any other answer? It will cause. Of course, hath-pai fracture is one possibility. Sarika is saying, ma'am, आई खूप मारेल. आई मारणार नाही, कारण की तुमची सिच्युएशन अशी झालेली असेल की आईला रडू येईल आणि ती तुम्हाला हॉस्पिटलाइज करेल. Okay, injury will happen or we will die. Okay, so means in all we can say there will be a huge amount of change in you, and at the same time if the person is heavier one, so wherever it will have the contact with ground, of course there are possibility that ground will have some damage. So damage will be seen with the person and damage will be there on the ground. Okay. Okay, some more answers are there from Farhan, Shivanand and Vaishnavi. So, of course, in a nutshell, you can say a huge amount of variation or change will be possible in you. Okay, so one change will be like this: from the living being, you will go to the deathbed directly. So that will be one change. So same kind of things you can imagine for the particles. So basically in this particular accelerators, particles are released from the 6th or 7th floor of the building. While having the release, in between they feel they have various kinds of lenses and other arrangement with which they are supposed to have high amount of energy, and that high amount of energy or the particles with that high amount of energy, they interacts with the samples which are in the basement. Okay, so basically the particles travels a huge amount of distance and they bombarded on the various materials, and due to that high amount of energy that particle are having, whatever is the matter, whatever is the sample, that sample feels variation in their properties. Okay, that property change will be related to its mechanical properties. There will be a electrical kinds of change, there will be electrochemical change, and there will be electrochemical kinds of change. Okay, so whatever are the properties of materials, that material properties gets extremely changed upon interaction with accelerated particles. Okay, so that is the thing to use the accelerators. Of course, here whatever accelerator I have mentioned, that is a linear accelerator where there is a linear movement of the particles. Okay, no need to say rest in peace, all are alive, Akib. So just concentrate now on the accelerators. Okay, so like linear accelerators, basically in IUS you will see various kinds of linear accelerators are there. Again, while working with accelerators, you need to see what amount of energy you have to give to the particle, what kind of samples you are using, and what kind of just a second. Okay, so what kind of application you want from the material. Okay, so one example I may mention that if I have built one transistor, in last lecture you people have seen on Friday's lecture, Toksha sir has explained you nanotechnology. Okay, so by using some nanomaterials, if say you have designed one nano transistor, and you want to have modulation in electrical properties of that transistor. Okay, so in order to modulate the electrical properties, suppose there is requirement to have high amount of conduction of electrons through the transistor, or amplification should be high from the transistor. So in that case, what is required? it is required that there should be high amount of electrons for the conduction in the transistor. For the insertion of electrons, for the insertion of external electrons, such kind of facilities may be used. Okay, so accelerators is the field where you can have such kind of experimentation. If you want to induce some kinds of ions into the material, if you want to induce some amount of electrons into the materials, if some protons are required to insert into the material, accelerator facility may be used. Okay, so this is related to the accelerators. Now in your syllabus we are going to talk about the cyclotron. As I have mentioned, the previous one is the linear accelerator, where the linear movement of the particle takes place. Here in the cyclotron, basically there will be a cyclic movement, or there will be a circular movement of the material or particle, and while having that circulation movement, there we need to give high amount of energy to the particle. Now how that things happens, that we are going to discuss now. Before that, another question. That question is related to agricultural field. So is there anybody from your side? Ma'am, there is any nature accelerator? Nature accelerator, I don't know about that. Basically whatever acceleration things are there that are artificially done. Okay, so that I know, but natural accelerators I have not seen up to this time. Okay, basically the cyclone that occurs in the nature, that is somewhat related to this particular topic, but 100% I can't give you any correlation. Okay, now as I said, the question that I would like to ask to you is related to agricultural field. So is there anybody from your side who is having a farm at their place, or who works in the farm meantime, or they are having knowledge related to farms? Or there is no, or maybe you people may have seen this particular, whatever I have to mention, maybe that you have seen in various kinds of movies. So because I have seen that things in the movies itself. So in movies or in agricultural farms, in order to protect that farm from the external parameters like various kinds of birds, if they come to the farm, then they cause harm to the seeds and all. So for that, one facility is used. So do you know what is that facility? Scarecrow. Yeah, that is one thing that Sanika has mentioned correctly. Along with that, another one thing is there. So do you have any idea related to that? Irrigation? No, irrigation. Okay, basically in Marathi it is called as, I think, gofan or something. I'm not having a particular idea, but what is that? On a particular, yes, gofan, yes. On a particular platform, that farmer stood up, and he is having one arrangement like this. There will be a one rope, and at the end of one rope there is a stone. Okay, so what that farmer does, he moves that gofan in a circular manner, and after some time what happens, that stone which is there at the other side of that rope, it releases, and due to that release, if some birds are there, they try to escape from the field. Okay, so this thing you might have seen in the movies or serials or in actual. So if you know that particular thing, then same knowledge you can apply for the cyclotrons. So in cyclotron, same thing happens, but there will be a little bit different procedure. Okay, so the logic of cyclotron is same as that kind of gofan. Okay, So before going towards the discussion, I would like to show you one video. Okay, so just a second.
Cyclotron. One of the most interesting applications of motion of charged particles in
Is the screen visible and is the sound is audible to all of you? Is the screen visible? Okay.
Yes.
So here basically whatever is the cyclotron, how that cyclotron looks in actual, and how the acceleration to the particle is given with the help of that device is mentioned through this particular animation. Okay. So kindly look into that and then we will have the discussion.
electric and magnetic fields is cyclotron. One of the most interesting applications of motion of charged particles in electric and magnetic fields is the cyclotron. It is a machine used to accelerate charged particles. E.O. Lawrence and M.S. Livingston invented this machine in 1934. Let us first try to understand what a cyclotron is made up of on a fundamental level. Well, to start with, we have an electromagnet which continuously generates a magnetic field as shown here. Here, the magnetic field goes from the bottom to the top. Inside this magnetic field, we have two metallic plates, D1 and D2. They're also called Ds, as they are in the shape of the letter D. Both these magnetic fields are connected to an alternating electric source, which changes the polarity of the electric field periodically. Now imagine a charged particle P. A proton, for example, is at the center of this cyclotron. This proton will be attracted towards the negative plate, D2. As it enters the plate, it is acted upon by the magnetic field, and we know that a charge moving with a velocity v perpendicular to the magnetic field B will move in a circular fashion. As soon as this proton exits the plate and enters the gap, the polarity of the plates changes, and D1 becomes negatively charged. Hence, P will now get attracted towards D1 and will accelerate towards it. This increases the energy of the particle P. As it enters D1, due to the magnetic field, it will start moving along a circular path. But this time, as it got accelerated while entering, the radius of the circular path will be more. Again, as it exits D1, the polarity gets reversed, and now D2 gets negatively charged. Hence, P will now get attracted towards D2 and will accelerate towards it. This increases the energy of the particle P further. As it enters D2 due to the magnetic field, it will start moving along a circular path. But this time, as it got accelerated while entering, the radius of the circular path will be more. This cycle continues, and the particle P keeps on moving spirally. To maintain this spiral movement, the polarities of the Ds has to be reversed in a time interval t by 2, where t is the period of revolution of the particle. T equals 1 by Vc, which equals 2 pi m divided by q times b, or Vc equals q times b divided by 2 pi m. This frequency Vc is also called cyclotron frequency. If we denote the applied voltage as Va, then the requirement is Va equals Vc. This condition is called the resonance condition. Once the particles are accelerated to the required speed, they are then deflected using a magnetic field. They then leave the system via an exit slit. This accelerated particle can then be used for bombarding other atoms, molecules or solids according to the requirement. We know that V equals Q into B into R by M. Here, R is the radius of trajectory of the particle at exit. This radius is equal to that of the D as well. The kinetic energy of the particle is half mv square, which equals q squared into b squared into r squared, divided by twice the mass. The important fact here is that the time for one revolution of the charged particle is independent of its speed or its radius of orbit. This was a schematic of a cyclotron. In reality, it appears as shown here.
Okay, so whatever you people have seen, that is related to the construction and working of the cyclotron. So do you want to mention anything related to that? Whatever you people have understood, you may mention, so that I will get to know what are the points that are accepted at your level and what I need to demonstrate. Okay, so what is your saying related to that video? We will ask to Shivanarayan, roll number 521. Okay, Shivanarayan, what you have observed in that video? How much energy is... Akib has asked one question, how much energy is required to accelerate cyclotron? We are not accelerating the cyclotron, we are accelerating the particle which is there in the cyclotron. Okay, so that energy will be calculated with the help of one formula that we are going to see at the end. Particles, fundamental particles, like basically the cyclotron is used to accelerate charged particles. Okay, so basic aim is to use the cyclotron is to accelerate the protons. Okay, so whatever are the positive charges, positive particles, they are accelerated with the help of cyclotron. You can't accelerate a neutron with the help of cyclotron, because it is all dependent upon the electric field which is there in between these two Ds. Okay, so keep in mind or keep a note that cyclotrons are used to accelerate charged particles, for example say protons. Even for the acceleration of electrons, there is another instrument known as Betatron is used. Okay, so with the help of cyclotron you can accelerate charged particles like proton. Okay, Shivanarayan has mentioned D's and D1 and D2. Okay, so basically as you people have seen in that video, there are three basic components of any cyclotron. That will be one will be the magnetic field which is there into the area. Then another thing is two metal surfaces which are having the shape of English letter D. So here you can see, just a second. So here you can see one metallic surface which is semicircular one, or which is having structure like half circle. So that is one metal block, and the same kind of another metal block is used on the opposite side. While placing that 2Ds into the system, a little bit gap is there in between that two. Okay, so one is say this one is D1 and the upper one or the other one is D2. So these two metal semicircular hollow flat boxes, they are termed as D1 and D2, or in general they are called as Ds. Okay, another thing, the upper portion and lower portion of that Ds is covered with electromagnets, or a magnetic field is created in between these two Ds. The movement will be from the downward side to the upward side, and in between that of course that Ds will be there. Now another important thing is that we need to connect the electrical source or source which will generate electric field in between that two Ds. Okay, so that arrangement is required in cyclotrons. Okay, so as we have seen, two Ds are there. Upside and downside of that two Ds there will be a magnetic field, and we need to connect electric field to this particular two Ds. Okay, so now what will happen as electric field, and basically the alternating electric field is provided to these two Ds, and as we are saying, we need to accelerate the positive particles from this cyclotron. So of course one source of that positive particle should be there in between this gap. Okay, so in between these two Ds, whatever gap is there, so at the middle of this entire structure, a source of positive particles is kept. Okay, so now suppose or imagine at this particular center point there is a proton, and we are applying electric field to AC electric field to these two Ds. As these are metal boxes, of course they will conduct the electricity. So proton is there at this particular place. Electric field is applied to these Ds. So at one moment this particular D will say have the positive half cycle, another D will have the negative half cycle. So suppose we will give the name to these Ds. Okay. So suppose the upper one is D1 and the lower one is D2. Okay, so positive source is at this particular place. Okay, now suppose positive source or proton is placed in between these two Ds, and this D1 is say positive and D2 is negative. Then what will happen? Where that proton will go at first? This is D1 is positive and D2 is negative, and in between these two Ds charged particle proton is placed. So the question is where that proton will go at first. It will go into the D1 or it will go to the D2. Yes, simple is the
As
question.
it is a positive charge, so it should go towards D2.
Yes, as proton is having the positive charge, it will go to the negative side because there will be attraction in between the opposite charges. So it's as it is a positively charged, at first it will go to the D2. Okay, so it will have movement into the D2. Okay, so after having the movement in D2, due to the applied magnetic field, it will have the curvature kind of movement, and when that curvature kind of movement will be there, after its rotation it will go towards the middle space of that 2Ds. Okay, whenever this circular movement is there, at that moment what will happen? The polarity in the Ds will happen. Okay, so whatever is the D1 which is positive at the first, it will turn to negative, and this D2 is turned to a positive one. Okay, so what will happen? Due to the attraction from the D1, now that particle will go to the D1 field. Okay, again due to the magnetic field, it will have the rotation in a circular manner, but here while having the rotation it will cover the larger diameter as he has covered in the D2. Okay, so whatever is the previous moment, with respect to that moment, here the higher area will be covered by that particle. Again that particle will come into the middle space, and from that, before entering into the another D, polarity will get changed with respect to Ds. Okay, so the positive will become the negative and negative will become the positive. Okay, so it will get attracted towards D2 again, and again here there will be a circular movement, but the radius will be larger due to the applied field. Okay, So such kind of rotations will be there. So as time is over, the discussion related to that we will do in the next lecture, which is there today at 2 p.m. Okay, so is there any doubt? So if any doubts are there, that also we will discuss in the next lecture. Quickly I'll take the attendance. Just a second.
हॅलो मॅम.
Yes.
मॅम 507 प्रेझेंट होतं, पण ते आत्ता त्याचा नेटवर्क इश्यू झाला वाटतं, तर त्यांनी मला पर्सनल मेसेज करून सांगितलं आणि लेफ्ट होताना तर आम्ही बघितलं.
Okay, no problem. 507 na?
येस मॅम, थँक्यू.
Roll number 1 is present, 2 is absent I think, then 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, roll number 10 is absent, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16 is 16 present. 16 is present or not? No, okay. 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28. What about 28? I have seen that she was in the lecture, but she may have left in between. Okay, so absent numbers that I can see right now are 2, 10, 16 and 28. Kindly confirm about 28. So I'll put the attendance in that manner. Okay, so thank you very much. We will meet at 2 p.m. Okay.
हॅलो मॅम.
Thank you.
Yes.
मॅम तुम्ही ते रिमाइंडर द्या म्हणले होते प्रॅक्टिकलच्या एक्सटेंड.
Yeah. After 2 p.m.'s lecture, we will see what is there in the genome. Okay.
Yes, ma'am. साइट वर्क नहीं कर रही.
हाँ, that I'll see. Okay.
मॅम स्क्रीनशॉट शेअर करायचा का की काय घेऊन येत आहे वगैरे वगैरे ग्रुपवर?
No need to do that. I'll see today.
Okay.
And if some problem is there, we will have the extension. Okay.
ओके, थँक्यू.
Okay. You people may leave the meeting. Thank you.